So does everybody hear that? I'm going to go ahead and record this. So please stick around. And yeah, hello to everyone coming in. And if you haven't attended a Cinecirculo session before, this is one of the special events that we host periodically with experts in the field of media, particularly in film production, and some graphic artists that we've had. And we try and bring these experts to you as frequently as we can. And we've been pretty successful at getting them to come talk with us. And it's always worked out really well. So just a guideline for tonight. While Joe and Steve have some videos and things they're going to present, do feel free at any time to raise your hand, and Mark will take care of either directing you to unmute or to type in your message. But I think if you've got audio and it's working okay, that the spoken word would work just fine. But we'll monitor the chat window as well. So again, feel free at any time to ask things because they're tonight within 1 hour. They're going to teach us everything you need to know so you can go take their jobs away from them at Disney. It'll be easy. No problem. Okay, so let me read a little intro for each of them. The first part, I think you've probably already figured out that Joe LaRue is my son, our son, and he's been doing computer stuff for a long time. I know while he was in high school, he arranged a special interest class, totally self-guided, and was able to get credit for learning how to do 3D animations. So he taught himself 3D animations on a little computer a couple hours a week. He'd be able to go down into the science department, and one of the teachers there sponsored his independent study to learn 3D animation. And he did some cool little running dinosaurs and things. So unfortunately, the platforms that played those animations are long gone. So unfortunately, I don't know, maybe we'll ask him later if he still has access to that running Tyrannosaurus Rex that was so great. So anyway, Joe's a stage and film director, video editor, photographer, graphic designer, and projection designer. He's the director of the web series Dog Days and Pet Peeves. His short films Adobo, Loaded, and Thanksgiving. I think the group has seen Adobo and probably Loaded. Have screened at numerous festivals, including the Boulder International Film Festival, the Washington, D.C. Asian Pacific American Film Festival, the Philadelphia Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, and the Long Island Gay and Lesbian Film Festival. He's the editor of 2 hit Nigerian feature films, When Love Happens and Lunchtime Heroes, both that are available on Netflix, and When Love Happens Again. He's edited festival favorite shorts, Just Like the Movies, Indie Spirit Film Festival, Las Vegas International Film Festival, Miss Meow, which played in Dances with Films Festival, the Austin Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, the Melbourne Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, and COVID lockdown produced a horror film called Hallway, where he won Best Editor in the Hollywood Shorts Film Festival. And maybe you'll show us a little piece of that tonight, and at least a little bit of Miss Meow. Joe serves as a founding member of the Mixed Emotion Theatrics Theater Company, where he conceives new projects, manages design needs, and creates production design for all of their productions, which have toured the United States, France, and Morocco. He holds a bachelor's degree in musical theater and an MFA in acting from the University of Florida. Although his degrees are in acting, he has been designing since high school, creating posters for all productions he was involved in, then designing professionally after moving to New York City postgraduate school. He now lives in LA with his partner, Steve Lekowicz, who's with us here tonight, and is a freelance designer with clients including Disney Studios, Amazon Studios, Facebook, Oculus, and Workplace. So occasionally he finds time to eat, but I'm not sure he ever sleeps. Steve Lekowicz is in the same situation. Steve has worked for Walt Disney Studios for nearly 30 years, and that's got to be some kind of a record topped only by Walt himself, I think. He is currently a high-level events graphic designer and a live show graphics operator encompassing work for Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, Pixar, Walt Disney Animation Studios, 20th Century Studios, Disney Plus, and others. San Diego Comic-Con, D23 or D23, CCXP Brazil, and Star Wars Celebration are only a few of the massive events he works annually. He also supports events for C-suite executives, those are the top guys at Disney, and works on the world premieres for the studio's theatrical releases. Steve has a BS in film from Boston University. After college, he was cinematographer and editor for a feature film produced with fellow alumni. To pay the bills during this time, he started temping for a scientific book publisher and grew to become a typographer, a layout designer, and a scientific illustrator for the company. When not toiling for the mouse, he still likes to write, shoot, and act. The web series he created with friends are still available to watch online on the KATR Pictures YouTube channel. That's KATR, all caps. He finished his first novel during COVID and is working on a second. Now that we're all out of time, okay, well, I see some other people have joined us. Let's turn it over to Joe and Steve now. Welcome, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Hello.
We probably could have done this without the long airplane flight, but we're glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We
Thank
hiked Pinatubo today, so
we're a little tired.
We're a little loopy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we can talk about all of the, we both do all kinds of creative stuff. So we can talk about all of the different kind of stuff, all kinds of stuff that we do. We're both graphic designers at heart. We also are both performers in a way. We've both done acting. We've both done directing. We both have some film background. We both do editing. We both do forms of projection design. And we both are involved in live events. And we often are arguing with each other or helping each other about what is the best way to get a certain thing done, because we have a lot of overlapping skills, and sometimes one of us knows one aspect of a thing better than the other, and so it's interesting to be able to bounce off each other in the many things that we do. I don't know where to begin with it, though.
Yes.
Well, how about a little bit of a sideline and tell us a little bit more about what's involved in production design and what that actually means for when you're doing those projections for theater.
Yeah, so I work with a theater company in Los Angeles called Mixed Emotion Theatrics, and the artistic director of that company is primarily a choreographer and a director, and she will conceive a show that her focus is to create dance, and then she invites me to a rehearsal to watch the dance, and then my job is to create imagery that is projected behind the dancers or on the walls or on a wall behind the dancers, or in a way that enhances the what the dancers are doing, or creates a setting for where the dance is happening, or helps tell the story that she's trying to tell. We've done a show based on the life of the writer Anais Nin, who was a writer in the 30s and 40s, who wrote about sex and feminism and feminine identity, and she had this incredible sexual awakening when she was a young woman, and we tell her whole story, her whole life story. And my job as projection designer is to create a visual language for the show. In a sense, I'm the set designer, because this show happens with dancers in front of a screen, a giant screen, and all of the lyrics are projected, and it's kind of almost like a lyric video sometimes. Sometimes it's a full-on music video that's happening. Sometimes it's a transitional video that's happening while the dancers have to change costumes. There's all kinds of different needs for the projection. But mostly what I'm trying to do is find a way to bring a visual pizzazz to the show that is going to enhance the visual impact of a song or a performance in the most interesting way that I can, using all of my animation tools, editing tools, motion graphics tools, to create the backgrounds for a show like that. And maybe I can pull up a video. I did not prepare to show something from Anais, but let's see.
Do I already have you hooked up as a co-host?
Oh.
Yeah, they are already. They have the co-host permission already.
Okay.
Is that what?
They're as my co-host.
Oh, no. Oh yeah, I can show a little bit of a piece here. This is a sequence in the show. Let's do Lie Box. This is a song from the Anais Nin show where she's singing about how she is sleeping with so many men that she has to tell all these lies to prevent all the other men from knowing about each other. And she keeps all of her lies written on these cards. And she keeps the cards in a box, and it's like a file cabinet that's in her purse so that she can keep track of who she's lied to and what lies she's told to each person. So this is a song that's telling that story of this chapter in her life, and it features the projections that I created for that song. And I'll only show a section of it, and I'll probably fast forward to the end to show that.
And that card file thing is absolutely true. That's a real piece from her biography.
She did it. She really did it. Oh no, not that one. This one. Okay, let's see how this goes. We'll skip that. That's an intro. So there's like some scenes happening, and then later on she starts singing, and
I tell myself it's fine, these acts I will sustain. I want your hands on me, but can't abide the pain. I'll meet you in the village where we met last week. My perfume swirls around my strange enforced mystique. I feel the damp and then I die
move to the end.
With her press, she's stressed. Gotta keep track in my box, my box. Gotta keep track in my box, gotta keep track in my box, gotta keep track in my box, gotta keep track in.
So, thank you for the applause. So that's an example of some of the projection design kind of stuff that I do. Some of it is more visual than that. That was very text-based motion graphics kind of thing. And all of that was built in Final Cut Pro using their basic text tools. On that show, I was teaching myself how to do stuff as I went. And I was just using every effect that Final Cut had built in to build that show and finding ones that looked right and looked cool and were appropriate for what the effect was. Part of the challenge with doing a show like that is that I have to make sure that I'm not competing with the dancer. I have to support the dance that's happening. And I also have to there's a give and take. There's knowing when the attention is going to go to the screen. And then when we want the attention on the dancer and we always want to be in control of where attention is going on the stage. And projection design is a great way to do that, to say, look here, look here, look here, and that's where the dancers will be. And then look up here where some big image is happening. There's all kinds of factors. And so when I'll often build something at home and then we get on stage and then I realize that, oh, I've put all the proportions wrong. I've made everything the wrong size. You can't watch this because I've done my own thing and it has nothing to do with what the dancers are doing. And so I have to go and change the spacing of everything and sometimes redoing entire songs because I think it'll look right, but you get to the space and find out that everybody's watching the video and nobody's watching the dancing, and that's not the point of projection design at all.
And how did you get into doing that?
I was an actor. I went to school for musical theater in undergrad, and then I went to grad school for acting. And in New York, I worked as an actor professionally for a short time and then was producing theater. And so my involvement and knowledge of theater became this kind of backbone that once I transitioned to editing and graphics, that became this sort of perfect balance of my skills. So I have a really deep-rooted core in theater. So it's really, I love to be able to bring the graphics and the editing and everything, all the aspects of my abilities to a show. And it really kind of just happened because I suggested, oh, this could use some video, and I think I can do the video. I had said to Janet, who's the director of that company, and then I became part of that company and we worked together, and now we sort of we build shows with the idea of what the projection can bring to the show and what the dance can bring to the show and how those things can come together.
Yeah, wonderful. So Steve, did you have kind of a similar experience getting involved in film editing? I know you've got a film degree from Boston University. What was it that brought you to your current position?
Just a lot of luck, really. I think I've only been at Disney for 30 years because I started there as a temp as soon as I moved to LA. And it was temp work, so it had nothing to do with any of this. But I was eventually able to bring my editing knowledge that I had into a new job at Disney and just start with that, editing all kinds of stuff for home entertainment, reels and montages and things. And then I got looped by that boss into doing live events. So I already had some graphic design experience and illustration and stuff like that. And I was just drawn into the live events. And back then it was sort of PowerPoint on this souped up, horrible Windows machine because PowerPoint is terrible and it had to add all this code on top of it. And then we finally moved to Keynote when it came out, the moment it came out. And that I've been using that ever since. And so this is a very corporate thing versus what Joe was talking about. This is all the graphics that I have on screen are either repurposed from the posters or the marketing art. It might be something new that comes up, timelines, graphical timelines, just arrays of posters or logos, stuff like that. So that's very different. And I really just stumbled into all that. And now, so I've been doing the live events for Disney for probably 20 years.
So give us a little walkthrough of what,
What's
give us
that?
a little walkthrough of what, a little verbal walkthrough of what one of those events would look like and what you're actually doing and what a typical one of those events, like the one you just did in Brazil.
Right. Maybe I should show the reel. I'll show the reel and you'll
Okay.
kind of see what the live events are. And some of what the design looks like and the keynote animations and the motion animations. I don't use After Effects as much. I use a lot of motion. Let's see. Let me find where that is. Where is that?
It's there. It's just a different tab there. Oh wait,
Okay, that's a
no, it's in
file,
my
right?
Keynote.
Sorry, we're so
It's in Keynote.
Keynote. Okay. We are
Welcome to our home.
yes, like where's, and of course our computers are different, so I can't find the stuff on his computer. That is voila. Okay. And that should play, right?
That should be it. Yeah.
All right, great. Where's Mm-hmm. All right, sorry about that. Here we go.
Okay.
The show's about to start, so
That's up. Oh, I ruined it. Sorry. I also, his trackpad is the
Yes,
touch to click, which I'm not used to, and so I often ruin things. So hold on.
don't worry. Bob has the same problems every now and then. The show's about to start, so the audience usually goes nuts. Let's see if it happens. The lights just went on.
The star of our movie, Mr. Ryan Reynolds.
don't have to roll anything. We do that, so all right. All right. Anyway, I guess that's a lot to take in, but it's basically for instance, Robert asked about the Brazil Comic-Con, which just happened in November. It's just something where it's all marketing. So you have stars coming on stage, you have directors, the filmmakers are there, you have hosts. And so it's sort of what Joe says, everything has to support what's going on there. And a lot of times it just has to be in the background. So it just has to be a logo that builds in some interesting way, and then literally just sits on the screen while they
Yes,
chat.
it's still on.
It's you'll see some of the timelines that were in there. Some of those began with, like the Star Wars one was Lucasfilm had a print timeline that they had done, and I had to recreate it all in Keynote to animate. And that's as they're discussing, the movies, and they come up in different ways. And so I work with those people to create these graphics based on the script that they're writing for the show. And then I sit backstage at the show, like you saw at the beginning, and have to trigger all of those at just the right moment, either during the script or when Kevin Feige of Marvel is presenting. There is no script. You just have to kind of know when to trigger the thing he's talking about. And that's it. It's very high pressure, but it's also really fun, because when you have 7,000 people in an audience watching the screen and cheering on the actors and stuff, it's really fun. And I know it has nothing to do with filmmaking except marketing, but I don't think I would have gotten to any of that phase if it weren't for my film knowledge and the stuff that I do with editing and filmmaking and writing. So I think it all comes together visually. And blah, blah, blah.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic.
There's a
And-
question.
Were you involved in the making of the event? Were you involved in the making of the event?
He's asking, he'll ask the question. I no, and that's the thing, is we're everything I do is, it's technically marketing. So we may work on the premieres or these big Comic-Con events, but it's not the movie itself. And that would be great. I mean, as much as I would love to do that, I mean, that's never necessarily transpired. So it's all just in support of the films themselves.
But Joe, you've worked on some DVD extras. Tell us about that. Like Raya.
Oh yeah. So what I do is also promotional support for the home release or the digital release, the post theatrical release of whatever movie Disney has coming out next. So I design a lot of keynote decks and PowerPoint decks that that show what the marketing strategy will be for each movie. And my job is to take very boring information and try to make it look interesting, graphically beautiful, fit the theme, fit the design style of each film, and show it in a way that's going to get the filmmaking team who made that movie excited about what Disney is planning to do to promote their movie. So everything is like, I'm creating a deck that's showing their strategy for selling the movie, but they're also selling the strategy to the filmmakers to show them, so that the filmmakers have confidence in Disney's ability to sell their movie. So there's a lot of like crazy stuff that happens behind the scenes before you even see an ad or a billboard or a cardboard stand in a store that has DVDs in it. And that's another thing that I don't design cardboard stands, but what I will design is the idea of a cardboard stand in a store that will have those DVDs or those Blu-rays in it. And then they'll use the sketch, the graphic that I create of the cardboard stand to sell the idea of a cardboard stand to the store. So they'll say to Target, we want to put Frozen 2 in these stands and it'll look like this. And I have to make that thing. And then Target will look at my graphic and say, oh yeah, we'll take that. And they'll buy it. And then a different designer will look at my design and make the real one based off of what Target was sold based off of my design. And sometimes it'll be a promotional thing or cross-promotional thing. So one of the things that I had to do for Avengers was I had to design a box for Coke, a 12-pack of Coke. What is a 12-pack of Coke with an Avengers branding going to look like? So I have to design this, and then I have to show what this 12-pack of Coke looks like when it's stacked 10 boxes high, 10 boxes wide in a grocery store. And this will help Coke visualize, here's what the box will look like. Here's what it'll look like in the store. Here's how it benefits you to purchase this idea. And then I don't even know if they buy it until one day I'm in the grocery store and I'm seeing, oh, there's the cans of Coke that I designed, because they never tell me. They just buy it and then it goes to the new designer who designs the real thing. And so that happens a lot, actually. I'll see things in the group because it's all brand cross promotion and partnerships are a lot of the things that I work on. So those things appear mostly in grocery stores and Target and places where there are multiple brands to pair up with a Blu-ray or movie title.
I think that, I mean, I know that that's all, you know, as having made a lot of video stuff myself, films and web series and stuff, it's like this stuff is eye glazing. Like the marketing stuff is like, oh my God, who cares? But having worked at these jobs for a long time, it is, like Joe said, it's surprising the tiniest details that each of these filmmakers and directors go through for, say, that stuff that's going in a store, or the stuff I'm doing at like Comic-Con in San Diego, where they're like, can we show this one image of this actor in this costume? And they're like, no, we're going to save that for next week for something. And so I think it helps, even a very small project, it helps to think about how are people going to perceive and receive your film or your series or whatever, even in the smallest level. One of my partners in that I've done web series with, he's an excellent graphic designer as well, composes music. He edits most of those shows, but he has an extremely good aesthetic for style. And so it's the same thing, even for our tiny little web series that, you know, who knows how many, you know, how many people actually saw these things. We've put a ton of work into what does it look like? What do the thumbnails look like? What is the title logo, which is called a title treatment in the industry? What does the title treatment look like? What are the colors? What is the trailer? And all of that, if that all ties it, the website, does the website match the look of the trailer and the look of the materials? Does it match the postcards you might be handing out at a convention? Does it match emails you might be sending to people? And so that's all the boring stuff that, at least as a graphic designer as well, I enjoy doing on our own projects. And I think it's very important for anyone making entertainment to be aware of that. It's not something to throw away, I think.
I have some samples of, oops.
It's not in play mode anymore. Forgive us.
So these
It's
are just,
Go ahead.
sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead, Mark.
Yeah.
It's like curating everything from the smallest details, like should match perfectly to invite everyone. Like it gives an expectation to the viewers, but not necessarily give it all the way. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny too how even on the huge movies, you know, especially for the huge movies and someone like Disney, where they have a team of people working on those tiny details. Like the Ant-Man Quantumania logo that we had changed in the middle of while we were working on stuff. So you have to use that logo. And then the logo changes again. And they're like, no, it needs to be a white logo this time. And so because they're constantly worried about how does it look? How does it look on a billboard? How does it look on the web? How will it look? They might change it again by the time Joe gets, well, he doesn't, you don't get Mitch Marvel, but.
Well, I remember at Comic-Con a few years ago when they announced Thor Love and Thunder, they swapped the logo last minute. You had the new logo, and the new logo for Thor went up on the big screen. Everyone in the audience was screaming about it. And then the Marvel digital team on social media posted the wrong logo. They posted the previous version, and that just because nobody had the file of the real one that was on his screen. The one that went onto Instagram and Twitter just became the logo. So they were like, no, I guess that's the logo now. All that energy to make the correct logo, which in the end becomes the final logo, and they ended up using that one in the next poster. But for a good 6 months, the wrong logo was just the Thor logo because the social media team messed up.
Yeah, everyone can make mistakes.
So there's mistakes all the time, but it's Disney works very hard to make sure there's not.
But yeah, for your own project, if you're not good with those details, you should find someone who is, like, or hire someone who is, and work with them to make sure they're getting the look and feel of your project right. Because there's also nothing worse than seeing a poster that doesn't feel like your project, that kind of thing. So it's always good to have someone to do that if you yourself aren't quite, you don't care, like it isn't your bag, or it's not your thing really, which is totally good to admit to yourself that I'm sorry, graphic design isn't my thing. Yeah.
We have a question. Are you present when the actors are in the photo shoot for the poster?
No. But I will tell you, when we get those posters to work with, they could be 20 gigabyte files. And if you go down into those
hundreds of
layers, if you open a bunch of the smart objects in those, you can literally see, I had to work with Scarlett Johansson for Black Widow. And by the time I dug down to find her image, I needed more of her legs. And the poster didn't have more of her legs. But if I dug down far enough, you could get to the original photo of the photo shoot. And you could see, like, none of the corrections were applied. Like, she's just a woman standing in front of a white backdrop, and all the tweaks they do to her later. So it'd be fun to be on those shoots, but I have to say it's also super fun to be able to go in and you can see the result of that shoot before they do all of the tweaks to it. And then you can fix I got more of her legs. So that was good. And, happy ending to that story.
Here's the stuff that I was trying to share earlier. So these are a couple examples of some of the decks that I build for Disney. And these are decks that lay out the marketing strategy for each movie. And these are just the ones that I happen to have on hand in my internal hard drive when we came here to the Philippines. Some of them are more exciting than this, but no matter how exciting or not exciting the movie is, like Amsterdam, I have to make the deck look as exciting as possible with the limited graphic elements available. And for this, I at least was able to isolate each of the actors and get some elements for a background, and try to find a way. I recently just built a template for the menu. And this one, I didn't build the deck, but I was hired to create a template for Keynote so that someone else can build a deck based on their own needs. So this is a gig that I get often too, is like, they'll just say, we need a template for the menu, go. And I have a day to figure out how to take what's in the poster and what's in the various promotional images to turn it into something interesting. And then I choose fonts and pick fonts that complement the title treatment, and create stuff that someone can work with. This is a deck that I built for Amazon Prime streaming, Amazon Studios, for a show that is not coming out until later this year. In fact, I didn't even know this show existed. So what you're seeing is top secret. Don't tell anyone. But this is based on a book, and it's coming out. And so they handed me this deck, and they had no poster or anything, and I created an entire template. And then after I had finished that template, they said, oh wait, we found a poster. Here's the poster. And it was totally different from so I had to start over and create a new template that used the look from all I got was this poster and some of these still images. And so from this poster, I had to extrapolate a look that could go across the entire deck and service all of these different kinds of marketing campaign information that the deck has to communicate.
Oh, that's fabulous. I've read that book. I had no idea there was a movie.
Yeah, I knew you really
Don't
liked
tell anyone.
I knew you really liked that book, so I was really excited when I got that job. And I was, I think my dad loves that book. So yeah, that's coming. And here's a deck that I built for Rise of Skywalker, and I was super excited to get to do this because we're both huge Star Wars nerds, and this allowed me some access to a lot of those photo shoots and raw poster images, poster documents. And I was trying to unpack every layer of those posters to find any kind of spoiler that I could, or any extra image about what was going to happen in episode 9. This is another thing that I do is often for the animated releases and even for a live action release, they will ask me to create the GIFs, the official GIFs that they will disseminate on Twitter or social media as GIFs that you can share that support the movie. So if you see a GIF, an official Disney GIF for Strange World, I was the one who I watched the whole movie month before it came out. And then I have to go through and find moments that will make good GIFs. And usually in a movie, there'll be like 30 or 40 of them. I have to pick ones that are not spoilery, that look fun, and that will play well in a square usually. And then I'll export the videos, convert them to GIFs, and send them to the marketing team, and then they get sent out to the world. Here's some examples of the in-store displays that I'll create. This is a typical one that I usually just have to drop in what the DVD covers will look like in the display. This one is a partnership with a wine company. So they want to present this image to the wine company to show them, here's what it'll look like when your bottles are paired with our movie. And hopefully the wine company says, yes, okay, let's do it. And then 2 months later, there's a display in the store. And then sometimes the promotion company will say, we want to do, we're gonna project images, we're gonna project the West Side Story logo on famous buildings in New York. Give us some ideas of what that might look like. And then I'll spend a whole day just trying to make some stuff that they can send. And so then sometimes I'm just following their whims, and then they send notes and there'll be changes. And then finally, when they get to an image they like this one, then they send it up. And I don't even know if this ever happened. I don't think it happened. And who knows why.
West Side Story. I don't know if they can see that. Can you see the cursor?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if the West Side Story projection ever happened in New York, but it was a fun little job to get. And here's some examples of promotional pairing with Fuji Water and Frozen 2 in Target, in a Target corrugate, and then the one on the right side shows like a bread pairing, water, gum. So they wanted to put like all these different corrugates together in one big massive look. And so that's my job, is to try and figure out how to make that look good in a way that will sell it to those brands. And the bread one actually happened. I saw that one in the grocery store, which was very exciting. Then I'll also, as an editor, I will create sometimes social media videos. And this was one that I created for Raya and the Last Dragon, where the star of the movie, Kelly Marie Tran, is trying to guess what dragon different dragons are from, what Disney movie different dragons are from. And I'll just play a little.
Hey, I'm Kelly Marie Tran from Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon. Nessie. Nessie is like the nickname for the Loch Ness Monster. I don't know what movie Disney did with the Loch Ness Monster.
Got it. Noted. Makes sense.
I never would have gotten that.
So I build all of the graphics for a piece like that. I have to watch the movie and pull clips that will support what's happening. So the clips have to be pulled and put in. The animated titles are something that I created. I build the whole thing, and then once it's finally approved, it probably took a month of oh, thanks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, you can stop the share.
What? Okay.
Probably took a month of notes and changes before that was finally approved to go out, and then it went onto YouTube. And then I also had to make a 9:16 tall version that they could put in Instagram stories, and that they can also put on TikTok. So a lot of what I do has to be made in two versions, a 1x1 square and 9:16 tall. And I do a lot of those different social media ones. I did stuff for Lightyear and Strange World. Yeah, bunch of those. They blur. I do so many of those.
Real quick, there's a question about fonts. I think what happens, fonts are really hard to deal with copyright and buying them. I always try to buy the fonts I use, but that doesn't mean I've licensed them for use in marketing. Now, I don't know if because it's Disney, no one really cares.
No, they care.
They would care.
Absolutely.
But I've used fonts that I just have, and I'll put them on screen for D23 or Star Wars Celebration, and I don't hear anything back. But there's a point. Fonts are so difficult to license. I try to buy them when I can, but they can be very expensive, obviously. So it's always good if you can find a good free font, that's good. But a lot of times we've just used fonts on our shows and stuff, and it's not like, you know, the web series are big enough or any of that to draw any attention. But you know, I would just use them. There's a terrible advice, but just use them.
There's a difference in the usage too. Like there's some of what we do is internal, like all of these promotional things that I do, even those decks, those marketing decks, are only seen by the marketing team and the filmmaking team, and they're not public. And also the concept graphics that I create are internal and not public. And so I'm free to do whatever and use anything I want. I'll pull Google images, free images, used copyrighted images. All of that is fair game for me because none of that is for public consumption. And same with fonts. But once something is to go public, like the social media videos, I can only use the approved fonts. I can only use things that marketing has approved. I can only use music that marketing has approved, that they have paid licenses for. It is extremely strict what can go out, because those things are to the public and permanent and on record.
And maybe he has better experience with that, because the stuff I do is ephemeral. It shows up on screen. Yeah, it's posted on social a lot, but from people's camera phones. But me just throwing what I think looks good on screen is, you know, I get away with it, I think, because it's just a live event and there's no time to vet or purchase all the fonts necessarily if someone likes a font.
Yeah. And a lot of the fonts for Disney, there's a lot of title treatment fonts are actually custom fonts that are created by the animation teams. Like Cruella, the Cruella movie, they created a whole set of handwriting fonts that are custom made and original just for that movie, which are really fun to use. And so sometimes the fonts are made for it. And also sometimes they'll purchase the rights to the font and then change the name of it so that it is specific to the movie, even though it's really an Adobe font. You're using so that you know that you're using the one they paid for. You use the one with the movie name.
Let's not go down that path.
It gets very confusing, but there's a lot of fonts rights stuff that goes on.
We can just talk forever. So if there are questions about other stuff,
excuse me, sir, are you hiring or looking for an apprentice? This is only a joke. Sorry, because your job seems so interesting and fun. Thanks.
Yeah, it does. I'm a bit jealous.
That's good.
It's a pretty great job.
I've seen almost everyone I know who's been involved with mild success or even big success it's always been just do what you want to be doing. Now it's weird in like, say my case, because I wasn't looking to do graphic design. I'd always liked it and I'd always enjoyed it, but I had never looked to go into that. I was going to do film. And so the career I have that pays me, I just did it. I would learn PowerPoint or Keynote, or Final Cut Pro, or Avid back in the day, and just learned it, and just did that. For all the other stuff that I work on, we just do it. If my friends hadn't had babies, we would still be making a web series.
Those damn babies.
Those damn babies. So they're a little busy right now with babies, but it's and then the other people I know who've done very good success. There's an author I know who just kept writing, and just finally one day, he got really good at what he did. And his book got picked up, and now he's a novelist, and that's what he does. The people I know who, even a lot of the people at Disney I know who are more involved on the filmmaking side, just did stuff. They made their own stuff, or they were a PA for a studio, or for even not for a big movies, but they did what they really wanted to do and got really good at it. And eventually you become known to be someone who's reliable and something on that project.
I think too, the common thread that I see is an attention to detail, which I think both of us have, especially you, an extreme attention to detail and a desire to always be working towards improving the thing that you're working on, whatever it is you're working on, and finding ways to make the thing better, the show or the package or the poster or whatever it is that that combination seems to be people recognize it very quickly, that you made this more than they imagined it could be, and you found a way to make it cooler than anyone expected, and that's why they bring you back, is because you think of those things and you have the eye for detail to make it consistent throughout your entire contribution to it.
Which is true for anything, if on movie projects or video projects as well. If you really like editing and keep at it and do have an eye for detail, it's a mix of having a talent for it kind of built in, but then even if you don't necessarily have that innate talent for it, is you just keep doing it. It's hard to see necessarily on films or shows because they take so long, but I've noticed a lot of it in web comics. I read a lot of web comics, and if you start a web comic from the first page, and that artist, maybe it's their first or second web comic, and they're doing a new page every day or a couple a week, you see an immediate improvement, and some of them get amazingly excellent within a year or two because they're doing it every day. And they have that attention to detail. They're constantly saying, oh, I wish the colors were better on this, where to me, they look amazing, but they're constantly striving for, oh, I want to learn how to color better. I want to learn how to ink better. And I think that's the same for any shooting you do. I want the lighting to be better in my projects. I want the sound to be better. How do I make the sound better? Because right now it sounds like everyone's in a can. How do I get that really rich sound? There's all these details in filmmaking that that if you keep working at those details, whether it's yourself or someone who knows sound or knows lighting. We had a DP on our web series who she was a camera assistant for a bunch of shows, and she wanted to work up to director of photography, and we were all sort of in the same place. So we're like, we needed someone who needed to learn. She needed projects that she could learn on. And so that we sort of all came together, and she could practice, really. She could get better at her lighting on our web series and become better at what she did, because she had such an eye for detail, but she also needed to be able to work on what she knew would be good. And blah, blah, blah again.
Well, it's also that Ira Glass thing where you start in a creative field with a level of taste that's very high because you're inspired by the greats. And so your taste level is like, I want to do work that is up there with you. I want to be Stanley Kubrick. But then you make a thing and it's terrible. You tried and you watch it and it's embarrassing because it doesn't come anywhere close to your taste. And the only way to increase the quality of what you create, to get it closer to your level of taste, is to keep doing it and to keep making a new thing and to keep trying. And it's part of the reason my graphic design has gotten so good, is because that's where most my work has allowed me to keep building upon my skills in graphic design, where I've not been able to do quite as much narrative video editing, directing, stuff like that. And so now it's like, I feel really confident in my abilities as a designer. But if I was to go out and direct something, I would still feel like I'm still working on achieving something directorially that I shoot and build that matches my taste level, really. I think some stuff is good, but it's not quite. I know that I'm still working towards getting there.
Like, I wish that I had, there have been times where I've been in a meeting for New York Comic-Con was one before COVID, where, I was one of like 5 Disney people in the room with Ryan Reynolds and the director of Free Guy to talk about what the show was going to be, what the graphics would look like, which pictures to use, how would we, how would they play off what we had created? How would we add stuff that they had created? And the only reason I could be in that room with that very famous person and his likewise very famous director is just because of the attention to detail that I had become known for, that they knew I could listen in this meeting, come up with some graphics and make them happen perfectly on stage without flaws. Now, had I wished I'd been in a room with Ryan Reynolds discussing a script or something, yeah, absolutely. But that's, I may be in my 50s, but it's never too late, which sounds crazy. I know people don't believe that. I didn't when I was younger, but it's like, you can always be working towards something you really love to do at any age, doesn't matter.
I just started learning how to make pop-up books. That's my new thing. And I'm still working towards achieving my taste level on that. Very hard.
I'm sorry. Are there questions or something? We're just rattling on here.
Yeah.
Well, if another question doesn't pop up right away, how about showing a few short examples of your various kinds of video work that the two of you have done?
Do you want to
Okay.
do your?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Do one
show.
of your guys?
Gosh, what's a good thing to show?
Maybe trailers from some things.
Trailer of.
Yeah, let's show.
I'll talk while you're looking
So,
for something
yeah.
else.
Talk
Um,
away.
For those who are not familiar with Bob, his first musical composition was done like before the pandemic, and I'm not sure how old is here that time, but just to build on the point that Steve said that you can learn still at any age if you wish to be better. If not for the pandemic, maybe Bob was conducting concerts now.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, like in the bio, I had, I wrote a novel during COVID. I don't know how good it is. It's gotten good feedback. I have no idea. It came from the heart. And the second one I'm working on is more ambitious, but I never could have written. I've always liked writing, but I never could have written what I wrote at this age younger. I don't think I could have accomplished that younger without all the experience I've had with storytelling and entertainment and what I like. What do I like? And so, yeah, it's who knows if anything will happen with it, but I did it. And that's all that really matters to me in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's
Joe's
see
going to show
here.
a trailer, I think.
So,
Potty break while you-
okay. So this is let's see, this is a trailer for a short film, a short horror film that I edited. It stars Brita Wool, who is now, at the time, she was just an actress that I worked with, but she is now the star of the National Treasure TV series on Disney Plus. And here's the trailer for that short film.
I'm sleeping, I'm just waking up. Tired.
You have bad dreams?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just looking.
If you have bad dreams, I give you something.
When did you get that?
What? It was here! Get out!
I keep on having, oh my god. I keep on having this reoccurring dream.
And that's a trailer that, whoops. Sorry. Sorry, I just accidentally put my computer to sleep. Yeah, that's a trailer that I edited that trailer, and I also edited the short. I did not direct it or shoot it, but that was really, it was really exciting to get great footage, great performances, and work on making that super tight and scary and funny. Yeah, I'm really proud of that short. I think it's really strong. Nocebo vibes.
How do you separate, like, when you watch a project that you're not involved in? How much do you enjoy it as a regular viewer, or how much do you view it as someone who is also in the field? Like, for example, if you saw another movie's trailer that you're not involved in, like, do you have like insights, like maybe this could be better, or you just enjoy it purely?
I think when you're involved in something and you see something, a project, like, you can't help but be looking at certain things.
So we often at home, we will put on Apple TV there's a trailers app. We will go to the trailers app and we'll just play things. And sometimes like within like, it's amazing. Like within 10 seconds, you can tell this movie has misused their budget. The editor doesn't know what they're doing. The actors are maybe good, but the director doesn't know how to use the actors. The shots look strange. They've put all of their money into something weird like the titles or the CGI that is not very good CGI, but was still expensive. And like it's just, you can tell so quickly when something doesn't have an attention to detail, or it has an attention to like the wrong detail. Like the cinematography will be beautiful, but the acting is wrong. It's just the people are not talking to each other, or as soon as there's something that takes you out of the story, then I'm watching it as an industry person. But I can stay with a movie and be in a movie and not be thinking about what went into making the movie and be connected to the characters until something breaks it for me. And then once it's broken, then I'm looking at like, oh, where did they put the lights in the scene? Let's see, there's one there, there's one there. Oh, why did they put an edit there? Why are there no close-ups in this scene? Why is this whole scene in a master? Why are we cutting so much? Why are we going back and forth? Like,
but even if something's really good and well done, like we might even pause it and go, yeah, that was the most incredible whatever.
Yeah, it does go the other way too.
Amazing editing, an amazing sequence. It happens a lot during like Stranger Things or 1899 or like that, just something that really, and what's fun is that, if you can get to the point where why that was so good, but maybe it's not something you've ever seen before or whatever, like, well, that was the most amazing transition.
Oh yeah.
That was the most amazing song underneath that scene,
What we do too is like, we usually will watch something the first time straight through without interruption, and very like focused on the piece. And then if we love it, we'll watch it again, and then we'll stop and we'll talk about what was so good about each thing, just to try and analyze and figure out. We did that with the new West Side Story. Was amazing. We went through and talked through like every shot of that, why that was so amazing. I can't wait to do it for Babylon. We saw Babylon in the theater, and I'm so excited it's finally on streaming now, and like we can go through and like talk about it because it was incredible. Yeah, that's I'm happy to be in a movie and fully focused on it until the movie betrays me and pulls me out. But if it's so good that I'm recognizing the filmmaking aspects that make it good, I'm still in it, but I'm loving it even more. Do you want to show one of your things?
Sure. And here's the thing with it, again, I haven't worked on a video or film.
It's Keynote.
Yeah, a video or film project. Sorry. Again, I need to tab to what? Chrome. Thank you. My the friends who had the kids now, or we talk constantly about how we desperately want to get back to doing something. And one of the last projects we did, we brought together a bunch of people we knew who did web series at the time. I think this show is probably almost 10 years older now. But what we did is we brought a bunch of people we knew who worked on web series, and sort of a mix of people. People we had very different tastes or had very different styles of what we made. And we decided to make very short. This was when very short content was key, not before TikTok, but I know a lot of stuff is becoming longer now. And each web series person or writer or actor got to write a short episode, and direct their episode, or hire or ask one of their people to direct it. And it was just very short episodes together. It's called The Ladies and the Gents, and it was supposed to be set in one night in the bathrooms of a nightclub. And so to make sure we could shoot a bunch of these, we could shoot all of them over 2 days. It was just a locked camera. So the idea was that the camera would be from the point of view of the mirrors in the bathroom. And so all of the stuff that would happen would just be what the mirrors would see. So you couldn't cut, there's no edits. Everything had to be within under a few minutes. Yeah, so we pulled that off and aired all the episodes, plus some fillers with the two silent bathroom attendants who are always there.
Episodes for each?
We did, I think it was, well, see, now I've forgotten, but it's 20.
10 and 10. 10 ladies and 10
No,
gents.
20 on each side. So we had
20.
20 for the ladies and 20 for the gents. And then we released each, one a week kind of thing. But this was the trailer for that, just to get an idea. And again, this was, we didn't have a budget for it. We found a space that was free. The materials we used were cheap, but we could create some bathroom stalls. We bought some toilets and then returned them, that kind of thing. Like all the stuff that you have to do when you don't necessarily have the movie or the money to do it. Here we go.
No, that's Keynote.
I'm really not an idiot on the computer, but I feel like one today. That's for sure.
Just a glance. Just give you a little peek.
Hey, watch where you jet your... They look like an angry baby.
I don't need the nanny state telling me when to flush my own waste.
No way. We were photobombed. No!
I say yes, I don't know. No, this is not...
This doesn't miss mommy. Why is it your good little boy, Joe?
I've already scoped out every entrance and exit from this room.
You mean the one entrance? The only one, the one we came through?
Actually, she seems happy.
A little heavy on the cowboy woodsman vibe. I'm not leaving here to go rope a steer. Steer.
I'm gonna need physical therapy to stretch out my cha-cha. So, Ridic.
You are worthy.
Enter the kingdom, my brother.
Advise the broken-hearted, console the inconsolable, coax a stranger through her emotional meltdown, and... Have you never been in a woman's bathroom before?
Anyway, so that's just an example of, I watch it and go, oh, I wish we could have done that. I wish we could have done this. I wish we could have done that and had the money. But again, it was ambitious, and we got to pull off something that we felt was just a lot to chew, a lot to bite off and chew, I guess. And it worked. It came off. But it's you could see it's obviously not a big budget thing. But it's just an example of having an idea, working with a whole big group of people to pull it off. And it did. It worked in the end. So.
How about one of your music videos? Do you have the Donna video or one of the Nigerian ones?
Yeah, I can pull that up.
Is this editing? Or did you shoot this?
I shot this as well. So this is a music video that this is one of the first projects I worked on with Janet, who's become the director of this theater company that I work with. She met this woman who's a singer and had an album coming out and wanted to make a music video, and she saw a show that I had directed, a theater show that I had directed, and she asked me if I wanted to help her try and make this video. And I had all kinds of crazy ideas, and I also was unemployed at the time, so I had lots of time to edit, and I used that time to create hundreds and hundreds of layers in Final Cut, and get very ambitious with the concept. And so this video is actually what got me my first job editing features. because the director of one of the features I edited saw this video and knew that I could do something with nothing based on this video. And he said, that's why I hired you. You can do something with nothing. So this is my something with nothing video. Let's go here, share here. So this is, yeah. I won't show the whole thing. It's too long. You'll get the point.
Say you weren't enough for me, you weren't enough to be my lover. Just say you weren't so tough, you see, you had a thing for me, but you faltered. And say that you wanted me, that you ache for me in that way. 'Cause today you broke a piece of me, you had to leave me for another. I never thought that you would say I wanna love you in that way. I never thought that you would say I wanna love you in that way. Love me, love me, love me in that
That you get the idea of what's happening there. Yeah.
Is the time lapse of the making of still on YouTube?
I don't remember. Maybe I haven't looked at that in a long time. Possibly. Yeah, it shows us loading into the dance studio where we shot the two dancers dancing and putting up the lights and shooting and then unloading and clearing out. It's like 30 seconds time lapse of the whole night shooting that.
How about a piece of one of the Nigerian music videos?
Yeah, so the director who saw that video first hired me to edit a couple rap videos for him, and he liked what I did. And then he said to me, when I direct my first feature, you're gonna edit it. And I was like, yeah, right, okay, great, thanks. And then 4 years later, he came back from Nigeria with a stack of hard drives and said, here's my feature, edit it. And now it's on Netflix. It's called When Love Happens, and it was one of the top grossing movies in Nigeria in 2014. My little claim to fame. But here's one.
Not to let that slide by so easily, because Nigeria is the #2 film producer in the world. So there's no comment about the quality of those films, but they produce a huge number of films. So to be that high in the viewing audience and potentially the purchasing audience is really significant for the Nigerian market. Something I've tried to convince people to model better here, filmmakers, to model the Nigerian model more. But anyway, so that's not an insignificant achievement.
Yeah, true. Totally. Yes, absolutely. And this is Shay, who directed those films, is his mission is to bring Hollywood production values to Nigeria, and to make movies that look like they were made here, and which was part of the reason he hired me to edit, and he hired a colorist from Los Angeles to finish his films, to give them a polish that no other movie in Nigeria was getting. And that's part of the reason they sort of were elevated from the rest as well, and also part of the reason that they ended up on Netflix. So this is one of the videos that I did for him. Oh, right. Share first.
And the sound.
Yeah.
Sound is on. You aren't getting the big blank boxes when you're watching, are you? That Zoom sometimes does?
No.
As
Okay.
of now, none.
Okay, great.
So this is the first video that I cut for him. And he came to me with just a bunch of footage. And I had to kind of figure out how to arrange it into in a way that was going to work. It was an interesting challenge and took a long time.
Africa rapper #1, yo. Am I a microphone magician, oh? Everybody put on kaitewiya. Am I a woman, oh? Africa rapper #1, Africa rapper #1. Am I a microphone magician, oh? Everybody put on kaitewiya.
Yes, and they say I'm the best, I'm on top of the rest, cash is clear what I do to the list, rappers are vexed, chasing me with a Vespa, some not kicking a Pepsa, not a threat, I'm a jet, flyer than IRS, helicopter flow tireless, these rappers are kids, no connections, wireless, see my track list, I've been paving the way, John the Baptist, I've been doing my thing round the Atlas, rappers blowing up and I'm the catalyst.
Africa rapper #1, Africa rapper #1. Am I a microphone magician, oh? Everybody put on kaitewiya. Am I a woman, oh?
Yeah, no, sir. They can't mess with my flow, sir. Some of them say they better than me. They must be high like Aloha. They should switch to Makusa. Can they tell I'm a boss, sir? Some of them wanna blow, sir. Maybe they should come and pay me tolls, sir. We are the mafia. We are hitmen. Making hits every time that I spit, man. We are chairman. We are big man. So I call you Nicole, you're a kid, man. You checking my fresh, checking my cool, checking my belt, checking my shoe, checking my car, checking my crew. It's simple, I'm better and better and better than you.
That's good. So that was fun. I had to teach myself. All of those transitions are built in Final Cut. Like all of those flashings I was deleting every other frame to make those flashes and stuff. There were no drop-in transitions at that time. And all of those fade outs I had to build, and the dissolves and stuff. It was, it was a fun challenge.
Yeah.
So for one that's totally different, how about the not the Tastes Like Candy, but the other video from the girl group, the murder mystery,
the murder song. Yeah. So this is from a group called the Pinup Girls, which is a burlesque performing group in Los Angeles, and they found me online. They saw my reel and wanted me to direct. So I actually directed this video. They had a great location, this cool house that we shot in, and sort of built this little murder mystery, sexy girl kind of setting. So I'll pull that up. Is it here? Oh, we might have to go here.
Oh, this is terrifying.
Before my baby goes away, I took her to the wicked place where angels and demons play. Hey, 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 hey. I made a big mistake and now she's packed a suitcase.
place. I drop my head low. I can't show my face. How could I make her cry? How could I cause her pain? I try to speak words, but all I feel is shame. Hey, 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 hey. I gotta clean up the mess I made before my baby goes away. I took her to the wicked place where angels and demons play. Hey, 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 hey. Bring it down.
All
I'm
right,
just saying, yeah.
that's enough.
That's I've not seen that. It's fascinating.
All
For
of
the
these
Hitch-
are on my
for the
website.
for
You
the
wanna watch-
Hitchcock fans.
Yeah, yeah. There's several homages to Psycho in that video.
Yeah, you might
Oh,
want to
here's
post your website on the chat there
Oh yeah.
And sorry, I
and
just
the YouTube page too.
It's all on the website.
here's a thing that we probably missed earlier. What's advice for young generation who aspires? Some of it is kind of what we've already been talking about, is just doing it, whatever you like, just do it, try it.
Create a body of work that you can show.
Yeah, I mean, that's always important, is to show people, like Joe's discussed. It's like he's had people seen stuff he's done and go, oh yeah, I want that guy. As far as one thing I had wanted to add is that creative people tend to be, I don't know, I think there's two different kinds. There's the creative people who just are very hard on themselves and are very hard on themselves and don't ever like what they've done necessarily, maybe. And there's a point where that's good and a point where that's bad. I think you want to, like we were talking about, the details, be detail oriented, care about what you're making, but don't beat yourself up to the point where you stop doing what you're doing. Because I know that so many creative people I know, and I've done this myself before, is where I just stopped doing something because I haven't liked what I've done, versus being critical of myself to the point where I can understand what I didn't like about it and I can fix what I didn't like about it. So be kind to yourself, but also be your own harshest critic in a way. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't sound like it where it matches together, but I think it does. I think there's also those creative people who just always know exactly what they're doing and somehow execute. Even James Cameron, who always seems to know, he's always like, I know everything I'm doing, but you listen to his interviews, he went through a lot of trial and error.
He made some stinkers in the day.
He made some bad movies in the day. But yeah, that's some more additional advice I would have. If there's, I'm always getting people asking about how do I work at Disney? That's always the one, that I get. And again, the people who are making the movies don't work for Disney.
Right.
Disney hires these people to make these movies or picks up
They're
the
basically
movies.
contractors.
Yeah, basically. But it's not a bad idea to want to work at a studio to get to know people, which that also happens too. People like Michael Giacchino, he's the composer. He worked at Disney and always wanted to write music and direct. And he, again, after hours working at Disney, he would compose, he would work on his own stuff. And, he finally got a foot in the door doing Disney soundtrack, doing soundtracks for Disney and stuff. And also most of the people I know who work there just have been temps like me, so many people I know who work there. It's not like, unless you're in finance or a lawyer or, have a business in marketing or something, and you get hired through like a job posting site. I've never heard of that happening to anyone I know who's on the creative side of it. The graphic designing the editing, audio. A lot of people in the special events team I work with have a lot of knowledge on technology. And so a lot of those people have just started as temps, really, or contractors, and then they get hired.
And I don't know if that was clear in the introduction, but I'm not a Disney employee. I am a contractor for Disney, which is why I'm able to do things like that deck for Amazon. I also design. I've done a lot of advertising design for Workplace and Facebook and Oculus, and all of the Facebook companies, because I work for someone who funnels work to me from a bunch of different sources.
And the person he works for is who used to, she was always a contractor for our department when I used to be in home entertainment. So we would do all of these big meetings and events and things, and she was a contractor for us that we had hired. And now she owns her own company, and she still does a lot of the home entertainment stuff. And that's how, one day she's like, "Oh, do you know any graphic designers?"
He hooked me up.
I hooked him. But she's always been heavy on graphic designers. Back in the day, we would do big sales meetings for home entertainment, and we would have it'd be me at the front, kind of on the, pushing the buttons and running the show and designing templates and stuff. But we would have 3 graphic designers backstage constantly changing things. So it's, again, it's like, who do you know someone who knows someone? That's that's part of the luck equation.
But that's like, it's a balance between the luck and the preparedness for when the luck arrives. So he knew somebody who was looking for a graphic designer. He sent her to me. I had a body of work that I had built up over time that proved I could do this, and I knew how to do it, and it just made it super easy, and it was a total natural fit. And that's really what got me the job, is having the experience of having been doing this all that time. And not even the stuff that I was doing was, designing posters for theater and these little shows that I've been doing, and designing postcards for print and photographing headshots for actors and stuff that's not connected to huge studio work at all. But she could see that I understood Photoshop on a level that is required for the job. And that's what got me in, really.
Greg, there was an earlier question, something about Mulholland Drive. Did something show on your shorts page?
I think that's a reaction to the Miss Meow trailer, or the one of the music videos.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, Nocebo.
It's a figure of speech.
Yeah.
It's a figure of speech.
I like that figure of
speech.
I
like it too.
Yeah. Hallway has a lot of Mulholland Drive influence. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but
yeah.
Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Yeah, I think we could entertain.
So hi,
1 or 2 questions.
Hi guys.
Go ahead, Robert.
I'm a bit shy, and well, this is just gonna be basic. I really want to try to get my hands on the film industry. I want to be a director, but I have 0 experience, and I don't have that much of a viewpoint of the film industry from a business or an industrial point of view, because mine has all been through a creative or an artistic view, like the artistic side. So I just want to know how do I get what's your word of advice, or just the basic 101 kind of question and something like that. And also the ladies and the gents, as a side note, it kind of looks like a stage play, but through voyeurism, if you get what I mean.
Right. to just comment on that last bit just a bit, that was kind of it. And the idea for that show was to continue it in other scenarios, on a cruise ship, we had other ideas to go, but that was it. It's like the things you would see that you wouldn't normally see happening, as a voyeur. Yeah, it's excellent point. And then as far as understanding beyond the creative part of the film industry, that's a tough one. I think there's lots you can learn just by reading websites. It used to be Entertainment Weekly. It used to be those kinds of things, where you can sort of you kind of start picking up on how the industry works on a very high level. As far as how it begins to work, how do budgets work? How does marketing work? How do release schedules work? How do independents work? How do they get picked up by a studio? How do you release a movie yourself? There's so many questions like that, and I think it's just scouring the web, or even maybe I'm not on Reddit a lot, but it might even be something you could ask about on Reddit. What are people who, if you have a specific question on something in the industry that interests you, like there's probably tons of people who have that experience that would be able to share it with you. Maybe I'm wrong. Is that a Reddit kind of thing, or is that more of a
Awesome. Yeah, it could be. Your question is how to get started, or how to get involved, or
you're asking me, but I just like how it's basically like that, but it's more like what was your springboard, or like what was like what the moment that ignited you that you wanted to get into film, like 100% on film, and that you wanted to tackle everything about the art of filmmaking, etc. And that's because I do find that in me, but I just feel like I'm a bit scared to manifest that into reality, because I have not even made a single short film or any video production, so I don't know anything about editing or shooting, or I do have ideas, I do have like concepts in my mind, but I just don't have the skill of putting that into action or reality.
I mean, that this coming from a film school person, I went to school for film. I didn't go there I went there, I was going to get into TV, like live TV kind of stuff. But I had always made movies with a friend of mine with an 8mm camera. It's that typical thing you hear about all the time. A friend of mine always roped us into making movies, and we made tons of movies as kids, all the way up through high school. And to the point, and I loved movies a lot. Star Wars obviously was like, my generation was a huge kickoff. Raiders of the Lost Ark, those kinds of things are like, oh my God, this is exciting. And so then for that, I know that's more of an expense, like going to a film school is more of an expense. At the same time, we were marveling today. We climbed Mount Pinatubo, and the beginning of that is like an 1.5 hour long 4x4 ride. We were marveling at the iPhone's new feature that evens out the image. So we were on a bumpy ride like this, but the image was beautifully even.
It was like we were shooting drone footage.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And I only bring that up to say that you literally there's the tools to do it are right in your pocket, or much more readily available than they ever have been. And one is do it, even if you're like, I would do it all the time, is like, just edit together videos I may have taken on a vacation. And you can do that on a computer, even on the phone, on a pad, on a tablet or something. A lot of that stuff is even sometimes built in, just simple editing tools. And like before, it's like you just have to start doing it. And I have to say, YouTube, how-to stuff on YouTube is invaluable. We'll do that still to this day. Like,
Still, yeah.
how do I edit this thing in this way in this software? And you could even get a very basic idea of how to edit something, probably even in whatever software or phone, or if you have something to edit with, you would find that on YouTube. And then the more you watch what you love to do, it's like, writers need to read. People who like to do movies need to watch movies. People who like TV shows need to watch TV shows, streaming shows. And it's, you can, if you're watching it with the eye, not toward just entertainment, but why is this a good movie? How is this edited? If you're interested in the editing side, how is this edited? Like, how are those shots edited together? You can literally go back over, like we were saying, we watched parts of West Side Story, and it's like, this is why Steven Spielberg, he's made stinkers too, but like, you realize what a genius he is, because you can start to pick apart. Notice how the camera moves across the line of vision at this point to change the perspective of the story. Notice how the editing picks up here. Notice how you're editing on action, maybe matching an action on an edit. There's all these different little things that you can start to notice, but that you can also, like editors on YouTube and things would be, lots of tutorials on what that means. What does that mean, editing across the line or crossing the line with the camera? That's something that, what does that even mean? But you'll start to notice it in movies. Actors who blink too much versus actors who don't blink at all when they're in the moment because it takes you out of it. Directing an act. How does the director bring together the performance of the actors as well as what are the camera shots he has decided to use and edit those together?
So one of my favorite quotes from Roger Ebert is, "A good movie is not about what the movie is about. It's about how it is about it," which is all those things you've been talking about. The editing, the timing, the camera position, all of that stuff. It's how it is that makes it so good.
Yeah, like
If
a painter. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, if I'll also add, because most of the participants are Filipinos, I assume. There's this, I think that we were high school batchmates. Bob knows him well, Carlo Cato. He wasn't a film student, but he was a theater guy. And there's this local festivals where he directed a short film. And I don't know how he landed the feature length job while he was still a student in our school, but he did it, and now he's directing feature length films, even he wasn't a film student to begin with. So it's basically, to answer River's question, it's basically just getting started. Doing a good film and doing a film are two different things. You cannot always create the good film in your first try, but at least the doing a film can help you make something better. And all of the online workshops and tools are already available. Most of them are for free. So it's just a matter of getting started. Like you, instead of overthinking how you do this, how you do that. I shared Bob one of the documentaries I made last summer, and it's not really a big film contest, but at least the artist got the recognition, and it all goes back to just getting started. Even if you'll see the reels of, for example, Kidlat Tahimik, some of his reels are just like taken from his archives, and you just put it in between films. So yeah, it's just getting started is the first thing to do, and worrying if it's good or not is probably the second one.
So another aspect that Carlo Cato has is his degree, his university degree is not at all in film or theater. He's a business management major. And when he's done presentations for me, for other film students, I always point out to the students that, and there are often several people on the panel discussions, say, well, out of all these people here who work in the industry already, the one who's most likely to have the long-term success is Carlo, because he's got the business side of it down pat. He knows exactly how to manage the finances. And if you're going to make movies, at some point, you have to manage the finances. So sometimes they're really creative. You know, you can make Plan 9 from outer space if you know how to do the financing. So anyway, Carlo is an expert manager as well as a really excellent director.
Yeah,
So
I
we
think
like,
that's a lot of the. Oh, yeah, sorry.
yeah, we like his stuff a lot.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of the you'll find that with directors is they're the really even the successful ones who you probably don't like are they've got something about the business mind to them. The budget, how do you promise to keep within budget? Or like, you know, the story with Spielberg always when he would create a budget and then add 50%, so he knew, you know, he would always come in under that extra, you know, he looked like a miracle worker. Yeah, but those are all things you don't just know, like that you don't just understand. I mean, there are some people who understand numbers really well, but it's stuff you can learn as you do it. If you only have $100 to do a weekend shoot of some kind, you will find a way to make that $100 work if you need to.
Yep.
So I didn't go to film school.
Imagine that.
I moved from New York from a theater background. I drove across the country to LA knowing that I wanted to be involved in TV and film somehow, but I didn't know how. I was teaching myself Final Cut Pro from a book that I bought. I knew I always loved film, but I didn't have connections. I had one kind of connection, and that was a friend of mine who was working on a cooking show. And so I got her to get me to observe the set of the cooking show for my first day that I got into LA. And they needed an extra pair of hands, so I washed dishes on the cooking show for that whole first day. And then I came back the next day and I washed dishes again. And then they asked me back and to help dismantle the set. And then they were doing another show. They asked me to help put up the set. And then before I knew it, I was a PA and I was involved. And then they asked me to be a associate producer on a new show. And so they thought of me. They knew that I had some producing experience with theater, which mostly means the ability to make phone calls and ask for things, and to make sure people deliver what they promise is mostly what producing is. So I came in as an associate producer, and then I started organizing shoots, and then I was learning on this very stupid TV show, which was about aromatherapy.
It's amazing how often the aromatherapy show comes up.
Because that was where that was my film school, was the aromatherapy TV show taught me how to work with a team to create a shoot that happens in one day. To get everything you need, you've got to get all the shots that you need for the editor, and then the owner of the company is going to look at everything you shot, and then they're going to you want to make sure that you've got everything that is promised, so that show can be delivered. And it was a great film school because it was a perfect learning opportunity to get the basics of production in a way that was, in the end, very low stakes. If I messed up on one day, it wasn't the end of the world, and I could easily recover. And it also wasn't going to ruin my career or anything if I failed. And I failed quite a bit. And that was mostly because I knew I was gaining skills that I could apply to doing a shoot that was making a story. The only difference was what we're shooting. It could have been the exact same thing. And that was really where I learned how to even begin to direct something that involved multiple people, that wasn't just me holding a camera with my friends and shooting something on my own. Because that's a huge part of it too, is that as you start making something bigger, you start having more actors, you start having more crew, you have to be able to manage all of these people and make sure that everyone is on the same page and understanding what the goal is, and that the goal is clear, and that you're able to, and that you've planned it in a way that you can get it done on time and in the least frustrating way. And it's always going to be challenging. There's always going to be problems that come up that you have to solve instantly every day. And the only way to understand how to do it is to put yourself into that position. Another thing I wanted to say too is that beginning is the most important thing, but the other important thing is finishing. And that means being kind enough to yourself to allow it to not be perfect, to allow it to be finished. Because if you don't allow it to be finished, you can work on a thing forever. And that was one of those things where, like, some of my early things, I would edit it and edit it and edit it because I could always keep playing with it. But unless you have a project with a deadline that forcibly takes it away from you, you have to let go of things and move on to the next thing. Take the lessons from the thing, allow it to be imperfect, pick the best parts for your reel, let the rest of it go, and move on to the next thing, because that's just as important as beginning.
And my boss had recently just had that conversation with me because I pulled an all-nighter in Brazil trying to finish graphics for the show the next day. And he was like, you need to stop doing that. We're not asking you to stay up all night, pull an all-nighter like you're in college or something. And it's true. It's like at this point, at this age, I know my limitations, and I knew that I could do an all-nighter. I knew that I could handle it. It's getting harder and harder to do that. But did I really need to? Like, when I'm still learning, like, what to let go of and when to stop myself from, let it be done. It's done. It's over. People are going to see it, and it's done. Yeah.
So that actually sounds like a pretty good point to say, well, I think we've covered a whole lot of things today, and maybe we should be done for the night. Yeah,
that was
great. Can I bring up one more thing, guys?
Only if it's really, really short, and you get right to the point.
Never mind then.
Well, post your questions here, or I'll send them to me and Mark, and I can always talk to Joe and Steve. I see them every day, so we will make sure that we get an answer back to you, River. No problem at all. Glad to address your concerns. So I think actually your final thing there, Joe and Steve, are pretty good point to wrap up there. And I won't even ask you to do a summary of the evening, just to to say thanks so much for doing this, and putting everything together and pulling some clips together and everything. And Joe has done a piece for us in the past on the movie Vertigo, and maybe we can get the two of these guys. We should do a what is it? The Sci-Fi Theater 3000.
Mr. Science, MST3K.
Right.
Yeah, MST3K. We'll do a session like that sometime, and for a short movie maybe, and show everyone how that process works and how much you can learn about film by poking fun at it, by analyzing all these different aspects of a film.
Yeah, we learn a lot too by poking fun at stuff that we don't like. Yeah, like TV shows that are almost good but not quite. Yeah, a lot of huge learning curve. Lots to learn there.
Yeah, great. So thank you guys, and they will be around here in the Philippines for another week. We've got another week of fun-filled adventures set up for them. So we'll be in and out of town doing things. But you can always email me or post on Facebook or on Mark's Facebook or on Discord with any questions that you have or ideas for future programs after they return to the U.S. Yeah, we still have fairly good access to them and the many people we're all connected to, them in particular, to the filmmaking industry in the world, really. So thank you again, guys. Thanks, Mark, for hosting this, and thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
If we could have, for those who can turn on their camera, if you want to have a photo opportunity. If you can't, you can just use an emoji or something. Ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Grab
Thank you
you.
all.
There we go.
I'll do the counting.
Okay. Good.
One,
And remember,
two,
you are all a resource for yourselves, for each other. So I wanted
Yeah.
to, don't forget that.
okay, 1, 2, 3. I'll just save it quickly. Then another shot. Already your emojis. All right. 1, 2, 3. Thanks,
Yes.
Bob. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Uncle
And
Bob.
good night,
Thank you, Uncle Joe.
everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Good
Have a
night.
good-
Thanks.
Thanks, Uncle Bob.
Welcome. See you.